Writer, an author, self-publisher, and I'm the author of the book we are reading today, Deepest Wound. So I have a lot of books. I have children books. I hope in future I'll be able to come once my children books are ready. I'll come and read it to you.
I am Michael Ogaga, and I'm a student of UNIB, and I'm also a writer too, and a good communicator and too. And I have the book I'm working on, although it's not published yet. I'm still in the process. So that's a bit about it for now. Thank
you. English teacher, First Dominion, International Academy.
I'm Mrs. Caroline teacher, First Dominion.
Mrs. teacher.
You, we'll go around like that then. Oh, thank you.
I am working I'm a Akbala Betsy. I'm a guess about success SS2. I don't know why SS1. I'm a going to imagine SS2. How about the destiny of SS2?
I have a favorite SS2.
I'm a go Madonna SS1. It was a SS1. It was a so good just
What's the name of the book we are reading today? By who?
Ogaga.
Let my father hear you. Call his name like that. Okay, so we're going to start with Mr. Maro. He would give us a summary because we're only going to read 12 to 15. So he will give us a brief summary of the story before. So I hope you will listen, because we have prizes for you. We have prize for the best and second reader. Then we also have for the person that would analyze or summarize or answer questions the best among you. So that's the 3 prizes. Then the rest of you, if you don't make any contribution, we'll just carry our drink and go. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so let's give a round of applause for Kumaro.
Thank you. This book, The Deepest Wound, has 15 chapters, just as you know, and for what I know right now, it's about like the first 11 chapters, which I've read personally before. And it's just about a man who was a university student. Then at first, according to the author, he said that the students were well bred by his parents, and he got his finals in school and he had not been in a relationship with them yet. So his friends, they thought he was not straight. Do you know what the word gay means? They thought he was gay. Probably he has a feeling for like a fellow person, like his gender of himself, you get. So he was forced into a relationship, and it appeared that he had an intercourse with the person he was into. And at last, after they graduated with their final exams, they separated. Then the lady, she went ahead and he just like moved on. So after that, he got a job, and before then, I think during his NYSC, he met somebody else again, and they were so into each other. At last, they got married and they got 3 kids. He named them Luby, Kehinde, and Taiwo. So they forged ahead, and the man himself, which is called Jide, which is now the married man now that has a wife called Najite. The married man had an intercourse with his PA in his office. After he goes to his office, he took her home, and the woman lured him to her bed, and they had an intercourse. Unknowingly to Jide himself, the Jide kind of shunned her. He paid her off and told her not to tell his wife Najite, so she will not break his own matrimonial home. Then she went on. Unknowing to Jide, the woman herself made up. She got a child for Jide himself, but he did not know about it because he had already paid her off, thinking there was nothing that was going to happen next. So much that Jide started having some issues. He had a friend in school then called Kunle, Dr. Kunle, and he ran a test for Jide himself. That was the very first page of the book. That's chapter 1. That was the very first information we got, but we did not know how Jide got HIV. We did not know. So he could not tell his wife Najite because he thought he would lose his marriage. So much that Jide kept on having issues with his office, but it was no longer productive because at first he said he was the most competent engineer in the whole of Nigeria. So, and he had lots of connections then too. So he was now having issues with how he works. He tends to have short temper and everything. So the staff and his boss, they noticed that he was becoming fierce in his office and was tampering with his duties in his office. So the wife was kind of disturbed too, so she went behind him. Although before then, she kind of asked the husband what happened. like what was the problem, because the night he had an affair with Mabel, he came home and he was acting weird, acting all strange. Then the wife, Jide did not give her a specific answer. He was stressed from his office duties and everything, which was a lie. So after that, the wife was sick bothered, so she went to meet the doctor. That's Kunle, that Dr. Kunle, which is Jide's friend. She went to meet him in his office, that's in his hospital, and she asked the doctor that since the day the man came home, he has been acting weird and she didn't know what was going on, and he did not tell her the exact thing that happened because she was still feeling weird that if my husband is stressed in his office, he would openly tell me that this one is telling me that this one is I think it's a lie. So she just kept on, and Jide kind of has this rule that he does not allow his wife to check his personal documents because there were confidential documents in his office that we don't let anybody know about. So that kept on. And when I think Jide came back home from his office and he saw his wife checking his credentials in his own room, he did not get upset because he knew he had done something wrong. So I think he just got gifts for his wife and his children and they talked it off and it just went on. But he got to a point, Jide kind of separated from his wife's room because he did not want to share her the HIV already had. And also he could have told his wife that he had an HIV because he thought it would be his marriage and the trauma would still eat him up. And graduating from there, the final stage of HIV is AIDS. So it grew and it went to AIDS and he did not know about it then yet. So I think one day like this, on the news, his friend Kunle called him. I think his friend Kunle called him. He was like, he saw this news because that's his first girlfriend he had in university again. That's Natasha. She finally had an accident. Sorry, a plane crash actually. Then she died with the president and some other ministers and stuff like that. So Jide was kind of struck. He did not know how to react. So this was the particular spot where he started working on how to get information how he got HIV because he did not know about it. Because he said according to him, all his life he had an affair with just 3 women. So it went on and he was trying every means to make sure he gets to get the personal file of Natasha because she had died. So there was always kind of looked for a way. So I think he told his friend, his colleague at work, Lorenzo. I think he's a French person also. So he told his friend, the friend kind of linked him with the person that was working in the private office of all those senators and presidents and stuff. So he linked Mr. Smith, which is a British person that works in that same office, that hospital in a country. So he talked to him and he kind of king and yes. So he talked to him about it and the man kind of looks for a way to get the personal office file of the Natasha that had died. It went on and long story short, he got to see that she did not have anything that had to do with HIV, just like normal asthma and just cough and so that was all. There was nothing linked to what HIV. So that was already aside and it was left to just 2 women that people would suspect that gave him the HIV. So that went on and he finally went to see his PA Mabel that he slept with at the office at her own house that he finally paid off so that she could not go and break his marriage. He went to meet her and she was so upset that he came to her own house again after he had kind of paid her off and everything. So, long story short, he realized that the night he had an intercourse with Mabel, she conceived and she gave birth to the child. And long story short, also, she had an HIV. And the husband she got married to had an HIV because she had already moved on by then. So, and the child was named after Jide himself. So the man, Mabel and her own husband, they kind of looked for a link and they connected Jide himself with, I think, Mr. Morris. Then at last, Mr. Morris kind of talked to him about how to go about HIV, how to get antiretroviral drugs to kind of make him live longer and everything. So, that aside, they still met other people there. Although Morris himself had family issues too, because before then, I think he was married, so he had his parents were very, very rich. But when they died, before they died, they told him to study, I think, medicine also. But he said that he wanted to study the art courses. And they felt like art courses were kind of low-class courses that you should not, like a child of the rich parents who want to study. So they looked down on art courses. So they finally died and he kind of was the next of kin and he got the wealth and everything. So he got married. I think he got married at 22 years old, but they finally divorced because it was a forced and planned marriage. So it was like something that you planned for. So they forced him to get married and marriage crashed. The whole issue that led to this was that I think he was campaigning for HIV issues. I think it was PLW, which is people living with HIV and AIDS. So I think he was kind of endorsing for that. the wife was so against it. Even the parents of the wife that Mr. Morris got married to, they were saying against it too. So the wife was like, she cannot live with somebody that's endorsing for people that have HIV because they feel it's like a stigmatization to the family. So she left with the kids to their house in the US. So once basically, I think Mr. Morris tried to kind of make up things with the wife, and he went to meet her. Like it was like a surprise visit to his house in the US. And the children told him that there was one Uncle Ray that was inside the house with the mom. So the father was like, who is this Uncle Ray that he does not know about? It's not like he's a family friend or family relative or anything. And at last he went to the house and he saw that his wife was now having an intercourse with this Uncle Ray now. And the children were playing outside. So the man was so upset and he had to beat up this Mr. Ray, this Uncle Ray. He had to beat him up, and he was so bold and telling that this your wife does not actually love you again, that she actually loves himself, which is Uncle Ray, meaning the wife actually has feelings for the Uncle Ray, that she has moved on, that she doesn't love this Mr. Morris himself again. So the parents told me about it, and I think the family separated. So when Mr. Morris was depressed that period, there was a Chinaman, although he was a China, but he lived all his life in I think US, I think Nigeria or US. So this the one now is a China person, his name is the one. So he was the personal therapist of Mr. Morris because he was depressed after breaking up with his wife. Then, long story short, Mr. Liwan now still was, I think he killed himself, he committed suicide because he was also depressed too. So that was the irony of life, like you are kind of talking somebody out of depression and you are still going to kill yourself. So it was like that. So that's Mr. Morris had should I say, an organization for people that have HIV/AIDS. Although Mr. Morris does not have HIV/AIDS, but it was like a personal decision that he was to build a foundation for people that have AIDS to support them to probably live longer, to have a happy life and live long again. So he got there. Mr. Morris linked up with Jide himself, and so it was kind of a boosting process for his health. He kind of felt happy, was beginning to gain himself because I think he was going emaciated that because it was already AIDS. So he finally got to see things that people with AIDS can still have life to live. They can still get drugs, but you have to be consistent, so you can live long and stuff. So long story short, other people came the following week that they had a meeting by 10 a.m. one day like that, and the people that were already that had AIDS, that were already in the organization, they came and they started the meeting, and it was like you giving your own personal story, how you got the AIDS and everything. So they heard stories of Agatha, this woman again, Miss Makamba, and just like that. So they gave their own points. So it was like making them feel comfortable that okay, since I can get AIDS, I'm still living healthy. You can also live healthy too. So long story short, I think Jide kind of looked for a way to tell his wife. So he actually looked for his boss, Mr. I think it was Suto Kunto, as a Yoruba name, but I don't pronounce the name. So the man kind of gave Jide told him to go on vacation, I think 19 days vacation or so. So he has to travel out with his children and his wife because it has been I think for like a year or two that he last had that kind of time with his family. So he took them out, and during the process of the vacation, he looked for a way to like tell the wife. He was like thinking after the whole vacation, once they get home, he would open up to her that he had AIDS, but he could not still tell her. So he got to a point while he was on vacation, he finally summoned the courage to tell the wife. He told the wife was kind of she felt bad that he has kept his own hair spaces away from her for a very long time. So I think the following day, the wife was no longer upset. They reconciled and they went home and everything. That was, I think, one night like that. Jide finally told the wife finally told Jide himself that she also had AIDS. That she realized she had AIDS when she went for pregnancy test for their last child. No, antenatal test for their last child, which is Ruby. And that was the exact time she had AIDS. That was like 7 years, and that Ruby is the last child, which is 7 years old too. So she realized she had it, but she did not know how she got the AIDS. So when they got to school, this Jide's wife, which is Magiti, she teaches in a school. Then I think the kids were kind of stigmatized that your parents have HIV/AIDS because they started campaigning for all these people that have HIV/AIDS and stuff. So they saw them on TV, like how could this kind of rich people be campaigning for HIV/AIDS? So they were stigmatized and everything. So at last, they had the children's friends in school. They kind of discriminated them like, how would I stay with somebody that have HIV/AIDS? So it had to affect the mom, which was a teacher in that school too. Sorry. had to affect the mother in school too. That since she had it, she would still got to infect the other teachers and the children together because they did not know how HIV actually transfers or transmits or contracts with other people. They thought once you have physical touch with somebody, you have it. Once you breathe the air, somebody breathes, you have it. That's what they thought. They were still naive then. So it was so serious that the staff of the school, they were like, they went to meet the proprietor, the principal, they told him that, sir, please, I want this staff to leave the school and she will kind of make other children contract HIV/AIDS. So they were like, how would they contract it? My children, they don't even have HIV/AIDS. They are living with me, they have lived with me since I gave birth to them. I lost them, they don't have HIV/AIDS. So how do you think your children will have HIV/AIDS? You get that kind of thing. So the story went on and they had to call a meeting. PTA meeting, that's Parent Teachers Association meeting for all the parents in the school. They had their children in the school. They came and they had a meeting. That day, GD and the wife and they went to the school. They dressed corporately. They were not looking as if they had HIV/AIDS. It was already obvious. So they asked them what happened, like what do they think they can do to probably sort out this HIV. They were like, because they were already saying that Onachi should be sacked, like she should just leave the school because she had just HIV/AIDS. So long story short, they talked. So the principal was like, the principal was like, he does not want to just sack Onachi without any solid reason. So they talked. I think they kind of educated them about how HIV/AIDS can be contracted or transmitted to other people. They were like, it's when you share sharp objects, or you have an intercourse with somebody, or you share fluids or anything of such you get. So we were like, they still did not agree. Although I think about 1 or 2 parents kind of agreed, were like, they kind of had a change of mind. So Jide was like, it was a man of that challenge Jide there. So he was like, how do you even know that is even against that HIV/AIDS? How do you know you don't have HIV/AIDS? He asked the man could not answer. So he was kind of dumbfounded and he could not say anything. So he was like, people can be living healthy, but you don't have HIV/AIDS because it takes a lot of time for it to appear. It has some kind of signs and symptoms, probably sore throat, you have swollen lymph nodes, you have raised temperature, just like that. It has different signs and symptoms. So it was like, before they can be able to like point accusing finger at you, they should go and run their own personal test to see if they are actually healthy or not. So I think that long story short, the proprietor made a poll. So people that voted against Onachi to stay in the school were much more than people that actually voted for her stay in the school. So she was given a letter of sack. So she left the school. So remember I said Jide had a lot of connection in Nigeria then, and he had lots of people. And Maurice was a very, very rich person too, and he had lots of connections too. So I think Jide and Onachi, they kind of went to they looked for a personal lawyer and they went to court. They took the matter to court. They were like, how would you guys say that because my wife has HIV/AIDS, you want to sack her? Even if they take change to others, they still be stigmatized because they were already on the news. So there was no way they could go to another spot, make new set of friends. So it's not going to be possible. So that was why I stopped for chapter 11. That's the whole summary of the whole chapter 1 to 11. So we're going to be from chapter 12 to 15. So we can know the exact place where Jide got HIV/AIDS from. If it was the wife that gave him the AIDS, or maybe we don't know for the meantime now for the first 11 chapters. So we have to read from 12 to 15 to get the grand news of how Jide and Onachi got HIV/AIDS.
Thank you, sir. Focus it on them, I want to focus on them. Who is the main character? Just raise it up your hand. What's the name of the main character? Jide. Who else? Yes. Onachi. That's good. Those are the main characters. And what do they have? What kind of illness do they have? You? They have HIV/AIDS, right? And so, who was sacked from work? Okay, you. Okay, why was Onachi sacked from work? Okay, because she has HIV/AIDS. How can people contract HIV/AIDS according to Jide? Yes. Please be saying your name or your class. Go ahead. Yes. Yes, another way.
Transmission of blood.
Transmission of blood. Having intercourse. So when we are done, we are going to look at the lessons learned. Now let's go. So what are those reading the chapter 12? Who is the first person? Okay. Sit down and read. Everybody listen. Are you on chapter? Have you opened your chapter 12?
Yes.
So you listen attentively. Listen attentively. Okay, go ahead. Your name, you first of all introduce yourself.
My name is Ena Olubichu.
Your class.
I'm in JSS1.
Okay.
The crowd outside the courthouse was unprecedented. More groups had joined in showing support for the Olajumokes. The National Association of Nigeria
Increase your
Students
volume.
arrived at the court with two hired buses filled with students, representatives from all over the southern states. Jide's friends were present with exception of the governor who had returned to his state for the South Governor Forum, which he was the chief host. However, Kule was present today. He was not able to make it the previous day because of an emergency he had to attend to in his clinic. He was actually on his way when he received a call from his secretary that some fatal accident victim had been brought to the clinic. The only doctor on duty could not attend to all these cases alone. Kule and Jide sat together along with Morris behind Onajiti and their legal team. Kule was worried about his friend deteriorating health and told him so. You are looking pale. You are losing your vibrancy more and more. I think we will stop by the clinic for some examination on our way, he said. Kule, I am dying, Jide said. Don't be negative. You still have plenty of time. He chuckled, not with the avalanche of illness that are refusing to respond to drugs. In any case, you should be optimistic. It helps, doctor. Optimism cannot cancel the hard reality. We have to face it rather than face illusion. Onajiti turned and was looking at them. The expression on her face was like, what are you guys talking about? Mrs. Onajiti Olajumoke was called to the witness box to testify on
Complete sentence
on the case French of fundamental human rights.
How long have you been living
Your name?
in China? My name is Ajawi Erikere. I'm in JSS2. How long have you been living with HIV? A lawyer asked. I've known for about 7 years, she said. How did you find out? I found out when I was pregnant with my last daughter. I was advised to go for an HIV test during one of my routine antenatal visits. The test result shows I was positive. She looked at her husband with a feeling of guilt. He quickly removed his eye from looking at her. So what happened to the baby? I mean, was she infected? No, she tested negative. I was placed on antiretroviral drugs that prevent mother-to-child transmission. Despite the fact that your husband and you are infected, your children are not. How come? We are very conscious of how the infection could be transmitted. We don't share needles and other sharp objects. My husband and our son have their separate vabbing clippers. Our eyes meet with Jide and he smiled at her as if to say, "Ride on, baby, I am here for you." She couldn't respond to the smile. The guilt was still weighing on her. She felt everything that was happening was her fault. In Fountain Heights was category of students do we teach and what subject. I take junior secondary 1 to 3 on integrated science. How long have you been teaching there? 10 years. And you said you knew that your status 7 years ago. Yes, in all these years, has there been any report from the students you taught contracting the virus? No.
Number 3.
Okay.
My name is Charles Vera. I am in class 18. The lawyer brought a letter from an envelope and gave it to her. Is that your dismissal letter? He asked. She looked at the proprietor. Yes. Can you read it to the hearing of this honorable court? He said. When she finished, the lawyer took it back and gave it to the judge, who marked it as Exhibit A. After a court clerk had shown it to the defense lawyer, whose clients confirmed it was the letter they gave to Onajite. Before your dismissal, there was a PTA meeting which I understand was called solely to discuss your HIV status. How were you treated by the parents and your colleagues? He continued. My husband and I were treated as lepers. A separate seat was kept for us, separating us from the others. Nobody except the principal came near us before and after the meeting, she said. Our lawyer turned to the judge. My lord, it will interest you to know that the meeting was designed to ridicule my clients publicly. He looked at the direction of the defense to see the expression on their faces. He could see the proprietor was not comfortable at all. If he loses this case, he will be living with a bad image and the reputation of his school would have been smeared too. The counsel returned. Their action amounted to a violation of my client's right to live without discrimination because of her HIV status, as guaranteed in the 2004 Constitution Section 108, subsection 15. He paused and then returned to his client. Let's talk about your children. How were they treated in school? Cheated, saying their playmates withdrew from them. I was to find out later that their parents instructed them to, and some of them were actually told to stay away from my kids by some of my colleagues. After my sack, the children went to school one day and were turned back from the school gate. They were giving a letter to us which says that the kids have been dismissed too. She sobbed lightly and wiped her tears with a handkerchief she took out from her bag. What reason did they give? He stated that the dismissal was due to the recent development in the school, that the authority was only protecting the other students from danger, she said with a soft voice. Was that all? Yes. He brought out another letter from the envelope. Is this the letter? He handed it to Onajite, who said it was the dismissal letter for the kids. The counsel handed it over to the judge, who marked it as Exhibit B. After the defense lawyer confirmed it, what effect has this had on your family? The lawyer asked further. We have been devastated. It pains me to see my innocent children go through this. We tried to get them to attend another school, but they refused. They now live in fear of people mocking at them. The counsel concluded his cross-examination and gave way for the defense counsel. You said you found out your HIV status 7 years ago, right? He asked. Yes. Did you let the school authority to know about it? No. I want to put it to you that you withholding it from the school all these years shows how dishonest you are, the counsel said with a husky voice. Objection, counsel to Chite said. Sustained. The judge agreed and asked it to be struck out by the court's recorder. Why did you choose to keep it away from the school if not to endanger them? The counsel continued.
Where's the number 4?
Then the last line and talk to the next page.
Objection, my lord. Objection, my Lord Counsel is being provocative. Barrister Nadanusa
Danusa.
said,
My name is Rabina Sustain. Counsel, please reframe your question. The judge ordered Mr. Osuji's face please. He was getting frustrated too early. Why didn't you let the school authority know when you found out your HIV status? He asked, hoping his colleagues would let him flow this time around. Objection. GT lawyer rose up. My client is not obliged to answer that question. Must you object to everything I say? The defense counsel quarreled. Objection overruled. The judge said, turning to GT, could you please answer that question? She ordered. Osunji felt relieved. Disclosing one's HIV status is a personal issue. I was only exercising my rights to privacy. There is no law that compels me to disclose my status to anyone, not even my colleagues. She looked at her husband, but moved her hand away quickly. Do you not also think that the school authority and the parents were exercising their rights to protect themselves from danger? What danger? Detail asked him. You are supposed to be asking my question, not asking me one, he said. Barrister Undanus wanted to object, but on a second thought, left it. He was confident Jite was able to handle this herself. I don't understand what danger it means, she said. There is no law that gives them the right to ridicule me, stigmatize me, and torment my innocent children. I served this school diligently for 10 years, and all they paid me with was undue dismissal. Her voice began to rise until the judge urged her to calm down. How did you contract the virus? The counsel asked. This made GT to be uncomfortable and embarrassed. Objection sustained. Counsel, if you have no further reasonable questions to ask, you can take your seat, the judge ordered. That will be all for the witness, my lord. The last witness to be called to the box for the plaintiff was Kule. He took the course through how HIV could be contracted and how it can't be contracted. He related from a medical point of view how stigmatization could affect the mental health of those discriminated upon. The defense counsel didn't cross-examine him. He was intimidated by Kule's empathy and didn't want to risk making a mockery of himself again. He had enough of it already. On their way out of the court, Jide was shocked to see his former PA and Mr. Osuntukun at the court premises. I never knew you came around, he said to the two of them. We've been following the progress of the case from the media, Mr. Osuntukun said, and we decided to come and show our support. All the staff sent their warm wishes, the PA said with a smile. That's kind of you, Jide said, returning a smile back to her. He introduced his wife and Kule to them, and they bind him goodbye. The chairman promised to be at the rest of the seat. Onachite drove off with Barrister Undanus on her car while Jide joined Kule to his clinic. Kule carried out a medical examination to Jide. It was observed that his blood pressure was at its record high. This is dangerous. I have to detain you here for some days, sir, he said jokingly, but was serious on placing Jide on a bed rest at the clinic so he could monitor his condition. Jide was worried he could be missing the rest of the court sitting.
My name is Abdullah. I'm in SS2.
Don't worry, I will accompany your wife to the court. If I let you go to that court, you might end up collapsing there, Kune said. Jide was willing to argue with his daughter Kune. Please call my wife and let her come along with the kids, he said. Never mind, I will go pick them up myself, Kune offered. I'm grateful. I wonder what it would have been like without you, Jide said. Kune patted him on his shoulder and left. He wrote down a prescription for the nurse to administer to Jide to bring down the blood pressure. She was worried her husband didn't come back. Kuni, you should have placed him on bed rest at home, she said. He's strong. He's been plagued by some stubborn infections in recent times, so we need to check him out and see how we can control some. If not all, he said. Jite offered to make him something and toasted bread. Kune joined her in the kitchen. "You put a good performance at the court today," he said. "Not more than you did," she replied. "I think I like the judge. From the look of things, she will be just," he said. He moved to where she was and started to carry her long way. He could feel her shiver as if she were a virgin. Kule will have to stop. She walked away from him, stopwatch in hand. "Kule, my husband needs all the attention he can get from us. Please, let's not do this anymore," she begged. He giggled and went behind her. He held her waist with his long hairy hands. He placed his chin on her shoulder and got her tickled by his sharp beard. "What is important is that I love you and will be here for you forever," he said. He turned to face her. She couldn't look at his eyes. "What is wrong?" he asked with a sneering voice. He could feel the hotness of her body. "It's just that," she said, but he stopped her with his tongue, ready to hammer. She submitted without fighting back. They began to explore the world of fantasy and were carried to the next level that they didn't notice when Ruby entered the kitchen. Ruby called on her mom, sent sheets down the spines. Kule pretended to be blowing up something from Chite's eyes. The bread got burnt, so she removed it and dropped it on the trash can. Kule was still pretty hard as he watched her. He could see her lips and turned red and swollen by the kiss. He wanted her the more. They all left with the kiss to the clinic. At the resumed hearing, the proprietor, who was cross-examined, claimed that the Olajumoke were not discriminated against. Rather, the school and the parents were only exercising their freedom of association. He said it was within the laws of the country for a personal institution to decide to associate or disassociate with anybody at any point in time. He accused Onajite of concealing information that could endanger the school. When asked if her coming out publicly also amounted to concealment, he said she ought to have told her employers earlier. He, however, agreed that she had never been found wanting throughout the years she taught in the school. On what crime the kids committed, he said the school took the decision because parents were concerned about the safety of their children. However, the principal disagreed with the proprietor, and the PTA chairman, who had earlier on said it was responsibility of parents to protect their children from perceived danger. She argued that the Olajumoke's posed no danger to the school in any way. She said she had a good working relationship with Onajite and there had been no reports or record by anyone contracting HIV in the school. The principal condemned the treatment meted out to the kids, describing it as callous and wicked. She agreed that what happened was a breach of their fundamental human rights to the highest levels. Her employers were visibly angry. They had known that she was sympathetic to Jite and had openly opposed the decision to fire her, but it was agreed that they will all speak on no voice at the court for the overall interest of the school. The chairman of school's board was sued for the government decree to give comment on certain issues bordering on the violation of the rights of the Olajumoke. He said they were not employees of the government but of a private institution. The government only sets operational guidelines for the private school and not an internal code of conduct. It was left for the private schools to decide who to employ and who to dismiss, he said. He reiterated that it was the prerogative of the court to decide if the rights of the Olajumoke had been trampled upon. The counsels to the various parties in the case were allowed to give their final brief before the judge adjourned sitting to October 2nd, 2006 for adjournment.
Please clap for them. Did you enjoy the reading?
Yes.
What we're trying to promote for you to read. As you're reading, your brain is opening. While somebody is reading, you're listening. You're training your own listening skills, paying attention. So let's just see so you get relieved a little bit. How far? Is anybody bored? Is there anybody that's not enjoying the story? Okay, what part of the story do you enjoy so far? Where are they in chapter 12? What's the setting in chapter 12? Yes. They are in the courts, right? We're reading more. Don't get tired. Chapter 13.
Justice Rosalind Ikwa stopped by public market to buy some fruits and foodstuffs. It was a tradition for her to do bulk shopping every weekend. She prepared the soup and stew for the week and stored them in the refrigerator. Although she has a housekeeper, she preferred to cook the meal for her family. Sometimes her mother helps out whenever she comes from the village to Lagos on vacation. There are times, especially when judges are on recess, she will do her laundry and parts of the housekeeping. The wheelbarrow boy carried her load of foodstuffs and discharged them in the boot of her car. The car, a tinted black Peugeot 406, was brought as a gift to all judges in the state as part of the parting gift from the outgoing governor, who had completed the second term in office and was running for the office of a senator in the forthcoming election. A man in a white sports car watched her as she paid off the wheelbarrow boy. His car was parked right behind her. As she was trying to open the door with the key, he started his engine. Before she could open the door, he moved with a high speed and hit her car, breaking the rear lamp and dented the back of the car. Justice Rosalind's heart jumped and she jumped up involuntarily. The shock in her was so great that she developed a strong headache and didn't know what to think of or do until sympathizers gathered and were comforting her. "Ah, madam, sorry, a woman said. Thank God you were not inside yet," she added. "I hope you are not hurt, madam." And hungry May Baisada said, "The stupid man cannot even come out from the car," another said. At that point, she felt she had to deal with him without even talking to anybody. She walked to his car and ordered him to come out. He pretended he was seriously hurt, although he had also felt the impact of the bang, but was not enough to cause a serious injury. She threatened to set the car on fire unless he stepped out. He slowly opened the door and came out. He was about to open his mouth to say something when she landed him a slap hard enough to make him lose his memory. The crowd urged her to give him more of the slap. He became so scared. It was not his intention to hit the car so hard. All he wanted was to get her attention, not the type he was receiving now. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am," he begged. It seems his apology infuriated her more that she gave him another slap that sent him to the ground. He picked up the mobile phone from her bag and called her police orderly, whom she had allowed to close early that day because of his wife, who had just put to bed the day before. The young man had not bargained for what he was receiving. He underestimated the judge's ability to react to such situation. This was certainly not a courtroom. If he does not do anything to save his head from this filthy woman, he would consider himself dead. He pretended as if he was having a seizure. The crowd began to shout, "The man is dying!" The judge got so confused. Could it be the man was sick? She thought. God, what have I done? She exclaimed. She could hear some voices from the crowd saying, maybe that was why he jammed the madam's car. Rosalind couldn't hear it again. She was about to be a murderer. Please, we have to take him to the hospital, she said. They helped put the man in her vehicle, but nobody had agreed to go with them. They just directed her to a nearby hospital. He was quickly taken to the emergency ward. While she was waiting at the reception, her husband called that he was at the marketplace. He told him what happened and described the young man's car. She ordered him to drive the car down to the hospital. The next day, she visited him at the hospital. When she got here, he was sleeping. He cuddled himself on the bed like a teenager. His peaceful disposition on his sick bed made her regret her action. She had never reacted that way. Maybe it was because no one had ever bashed a car before. A nurse came in to administer his routine drugs, and the judge seized the opportunity to find out about his health condition. The sound of their voices woke him up. How are you doing? She asked. I guess I'm okay, he said with a screaming voice. I'm really sorry, I bashed your car, he said as he tried to raise himself up and leaned on his back on the wall behind him. She struggled. Oh no, there is nothing to be sorry for. I could have hurt you as well, he said. I should be the one to apologize. I think I overreacted. She brought out a flask from a paper bag. I brought you lunch. You are such a good woman, and I understood you are paying my bill. Not after what I did to you. It was my entire fault. She opened the flask and started to eat the rice with a vegetable sauce. Your maid must be a good cook, he said. I prepared it myself, she said with a smile. She was happy she had not caused any damage on him. Your husband must be a lucky man, he flattered. My husband is no more, she said. She sighed, I'm sorry. It's okay. So, has any member of your family showed up yet? She asked with concern. I don't have one, he said. She couldn't hide her shock. She felt much pity on him. What happened to them? She inquired. I don't know. I grew up in an orphanage. I'm sorry. Okay. Raymond, I won't promise you, she said and left him still standing. She didn't intend to spark off a relationship. It might just be an infatuation. Throughout the week, he sent her several text messages expressing his gratitude to her. He sent friendly text messages, but none was romantic. She felt it would be decent after all. She dropped her children off at the home of the Chief Judge of Lagos State, who hosted the children of members of the bench and bar in a party in honor of his son, who had just won the first prize of the National Mathematics Competition for secondary school. Raymond opened the gate for her to drive him. He didn't have a gate man. Since he lived a very private life, no family, no friends, no security guard, she wondered. He offered her bread, wine. They talked so much of the stories making the headline. They analyzed the role the judiciary has played during the military era and under the new civilian dispensation. He offered to serve her lunch. You cook? She asked in surprise. Men make the best cook, he said. I'm curious. Let me see what you got, she said. He went into the kitchen and came out with a food on a tray. He asked her to close her eyes, then open the plate. You can open your eyes, he ordered. Wow, fried rice with chopped liver, she exclaimed. Tell me the truth. Someone made this for you. I made them myself. Are you sure? She teased. True, true, he said. She took the spoon and offered to feed her. She was taken aback. She objected, but she insisted. She was shy. He was making her look like a damsel being in love for the first time. After the meal, she excused herself to join her children at the party. Please stay with me a little while. I'm lonely, he pleaded and drew himself closer. Raymond, please, I have to go. I think we are going too far, she said. Don't say anything. She placed her right index finger on her lips. I love you, Rosa, he confessed to her. He kissed her with his already hot mouth. She couldn't protest. He lifted her up and led her to the room. She followed him like a lamb would follow her shepherd. Justice Rosalie's passion for Raymond was so electrifying that she would always stop by on her way from work. It was the happiest week and the only romantic week since her husband died, and has been the custom for her. She stopped by Raymond's place on her way back from the market to give him the foodstuffs she brought from him. They had their usual romantic moments as she was dressing up to leave. He wrapped his hand round her waist from behind. Have you made up your mind on the Oladumokes? He asked. I don't understand, she said. Do you really agree that their rights have been violated? You knew about the case? She freed herself from him. Of course. There has been wide media coverage on it, he answered. In any case, I don't discuss my case until I delivered my judgment, she said. Even with someone you love, he was trying to be cunning. He knew she had been hard not to crack when it has to do with her job. He started to kiss her, but she stopped him. Listen, Raymond, it is unethical for me to say. Besides, I'm still making my researches, she said. Her countenance changed. She had never discussed her case before her court with anyone, not even with her colleagues, None of her judgment had ever been set aside by a superior court. What will your judgment be like? He said with a husky voice. My God. Raymond, do you have a personal interest in this case? She asked. Yes, I do, he said. What's your interest? She asked with annoyance. I strongly believe the Oladumokes are wrong. They don't deserve your sympathy. This is not about sympathy, it is about justice, she said. Justice is relative, he said mockingly. That's left for the court to decide. You are the court, he counted. Fine, then that's left for me to decide, she said angrily. I don't think so. How do you mean? She said huskily. It's for us to decide. She was shocked by the comment. Who is us? Raymond, what's going on here? The people I worked for want you to deliver the judgment against the Oladumokes. He couldn't look at her face as he spoke. If you didn't, They will go to the press with pictures of us together. She was dumbfounded. When she regained her consciousness, she turned to him. You are blackmailing me. Oh my God. Who are you? She shouted. It is no longer important. I'm sure you want to protect your image. He was still looking at the other way. Raymond looked at me and tell me what was been going on between us was an illusion. He didn't move. This infuriated her. Raymond, please don't do this to me. I have loved you like I have loved no man before. Please tell me this is a lie. Raymond felt uncomfortable and asked her to leave. We will see you in court, he said.
I like the way you clap, it just shows you're not tired. I hope you're enjoying the story. Yes. You're following the story. That's why Mr. Maro gave us a summary of the story so that we follow. As we're reading, you're following. Right? They were in court. This chapter, they say, were they in court? No. Who is the main character in this chapter? Who is Rosalind? The judge handling the case, Abi? Yes. So it looked like the Olajumekes will win the case, Abi? Yes. They now sent somebody, Abi? Yes. Who was the person? Raymond. So, what's the key thing there? Betrayal, right? Yes. Blackmail. Betrayal, blackmail. See, they sent somebody and the judge already liked Abby. What happened? What did Raymond do that surprised Justice Rosalind? Can somebody say? One person.
Put your hand and say.
Yes.
Betrayal.
How? Just say it. How? Anyhow. Say it.
He lied to her.
Yeah, some other person he lied to her. Somebody clarified that. How did he lie to her? Some other person. Yeah.
He pretended to be an orphan and had an intercourse with her.
Okay. So he made her love him, right?
Yes.
Yeah, pretended like he even fainted, to draw attention and all those things. Now she now fell in love with him, and at the end of the day, he betrayed her, was blackmailing her. So some bad people sent. So, and all these cases because of what? Because of the case in court, right?
Yes.
So, do you think Justice Rosalind will give it? We've read about her kind of person and story. Do you think she's somebody that will fall?
No.
Why? Give me a reason. You say no. No is an open answer. Why do you think Justice Rosalind will not give it? Or why do you think she will give it to this person? Yeah?
I think because she's fighting for justice.
Because she's fighting for justice. Okay. You, what's the name? Come back. Yeah, you, what's the name? Go ahead.
Because she loves him.
She loves him. Okay, so you think she will give it? Thank you. See the way men reason, the way women reason different. So it's good. Let's see. So let Mr. Michael.
Alright,
are we there now? Is everybody chapter 14?
Yes.
We're almost getting to the end, Abby.
Yes.
Is your eye focused on the book or the drink outside? Better be focused. Now, let's go ahead. Let's shoot. Are you tired? Hold on. Can we stand up? Stand up. Stretch your legs.
Let's see.
Dressed in black robe
and the milk colored bed. She was moving from one end of her chamber to another. She was going to do injustice to a family already afflicted with so much pain. She'd never found herself in this situation with all her ways of her career. Would she do the right thing and face the consequences, or would she inform the police? No, it likely would be worse. She cannot afford the publicity. Her job will also be on the line. She wondered how she gave herself to Raymond. How could she have fallen in love with a total stranger out of pity? She thought about their romantic moments and his professed love. What pained her most was that she still wanted him. She had never loved after her husband. Raymond had become a part of her. Raymond, why? Why? She cried. She lost her emotions and was crying so loud until she heard a knock on her door. She quickly wiped her tears and invited the person in. It was the court. Your Lordship, the court is ready, he said. I'll be there, she said with a shaky voice. There was an anxiety in the court among Chite's supporters. The human rights community hoped that the judge would leave up her attendance. The defense team sat with all confidence. They had hired a gigolo to do the dirty job for them. The judge took her seat before the court. They were as calm as she entered. She brought out a note from the brown envelope. The envelope was handed over to her by a policeman attached to the court when she was about to enter inside the courtroom. It had been given to him by a middle-aged man who insisted it was an emergency. The man had, however,
some of you are not looking at him, you're just looking at, you are enjoying the way he's reading, you're just looking at him. You just be looking at your book, you are looking, so you're just looking at the reader. Look at your book, you enjoy, just listen to his voice. You like his voice, Abi?
Yes.
You like the way he's reading?
Yes.
He's tickling you?
Yes.
Okay, you have been looking at the book. Can we all look at our book?
Yes.
Enjoy the voice and look at what he's reading so that you learn now. You see the way he's pronouncing words. You understand? You don't worry. Oh yeah, let's flow.
Alright, the man had however tipped him before he accepted. Before opening the envelope, she reasoned that the letter could have come
Next
from
page.
her blackmailers to remind her of what she has to do. There was no need for that. She was going to give them what they wanted. However, how painful it was for her. She ran her eyes through the court to see if she could cite Raymond. He wasn't there. She looked at the defense counsel with disdain. Barrister Osuji smiled sheepishly at her. She opened the letter and what she saw surprised her. She read the letter to herself while the court was kept in suspense. The letter says, "My dear Rosa, please find a place in your heart to forgive me. You have every reason to hate me and I wouldn't mind if you do. Ever since I met you, I met love. I've never felt that way before. I don't want to betray that again, sorry. Do the right thing. Do justice as you've always done. I've destroyed all evidence they could use against you. I want to assure you that I'll be there. I'll be here to protect you. Rosa, I can't do without you. Please accept me back into your life. My real name is not Raymond. I am Nicholas. My friends call me Nico. I love you." That was better said. A long tear dropped down her cheek and she leaned on her back. Nico walked in, dressed on a green flower native material. Putting a sunshade, he took his seat. Their eyes met and he sent her a smile. She removed the eye and beamed it in the direction of the defense lawyer and gave him a cold smile. She gave a brief unwritten speech on the case brought before her and then delivered judgment. I strongly agree with the plaintiffs that their fundamental human rights was violated. It is a shame that this level of discrimination will come from persons who claim to be enlightened. I also agree that damages will have to be paid to the Olajuwon case, and an apology letter sent to them personally, and copies should be distributed to media houses in the country for publication by Fountain Heights School. This court will adjourn to the 2nd of November 2006, so I can give reasons for my ruling and what the damages should be paid to Olajuwon case would be. May the court rise. She looked at Nico and gave him an inviting smile. It was clear to him that she had forgiven him. There was wild jubilation inside and outside the courtroom. The proprietor and his team supporters stormed out of the court. They refused to talk to the press, who had painted a bad image of them to the world. Barrister Ndanusa made a brief statement on behalf of his clients. We are delighted we've been vindicated at last. This shows that the judiciary is a beacon of hope for the oppressed. We are grateful to all who've shown support to us, both locally and internationally. We are also grateful to the press. Thank you. A victory party was organized at the weekend after the school authority made a public apology and stated its desire not to appeal the judgment. Morris assisted in making arrangements for the event. Jide's committee of friends, including the governor and their spouses, were present. Members of his support group, his former colleagues, members of the human rights and civil liberties organizations made it too. A few invited press men and photojournalists were there too. The principal made a surprise appearance. A popular Nigerian comedian, Basket Mouth, who happens to be Morris' school son when they were in the secondary school, was the master of ceremony. A famous Yoruba musician, Saheed, who is known to use his music to campaign against HIV/AIDS, entertained the guests with his hit track. Jide asked Morris to help lift him off from the wheelchair onto the couch. They sat together discussing in low tones. Morris did much of the talking. What he was saying was probably amusing because Jide kept laughing heartily. After about 1 hour, when most of the guests had left, he begged Morris to help him back onto the wheelchair so that he could go to his room to take the routine drugs. When he got to the door, he was hearing voices inside. He could not pick up all they were saying clearly. You will not get rid of it, Kunle said. I've made up my mind already, Jite told him. Please, Jite, don't do it. I beg you, it's risky. What do I tell my husband when he finds out? He hasn't touched me for months now. Can't you see he's dying? You don't need to tell him. He has a very short time to live, and he knows that. Jite started to cry. He begged her to stop and kissed her. She placed her head on his chest. Jide flung the door open and the door began to tremble. I can explain, Kunle fluttered. What do you want to explain? Jide asked. It's not what you think, Jide said. Just shut your mouth up, Jide shouted. No, it's a dream. He cried, clenching his hands. He became confused that he did not know what to do. Could this be the climax of his troubled life? He tried to calm himself down. I want to be alone, he spoke faintly. Baby, Jite said. Leave, please, he said. They left the room. He rode his wheelchair to the door and locked the door behind them. The pictures of his family on his work table took him on a memory lane. He saw the chapters of his life open with anguish. His tear bag could not contain the precious anymore, and the tears flooded down his cheeks like a fountain. Omajiti has explanations to make, but not tonight. At 4:30 a.m. In the morning, Jite received a knock on her door that frightened her. Perhaps an offer of the nightmare. Sorry, an effect of the nightmare she was having. Her kids wouldn't wake her up at that hour. And if they have to, they will go to the father's room. She was not expecting her husband either. After what happened the previous evening, the knock repeated. "Who is it?" she asked with a shaky voice. "It's me, Jide," he said huskily. Her heart jumped. She became even more frightened. What do you want?" she asked. "I just want us to talk," he said. "Jide, I am scared," she said with his frightened voice. "I see. So let me get the kids to be with you while we talk," he told her. She opened the door for him to go in. "No, you don't have to," she said. "How long have you been sleeping with me?" he asked huskily. "Please, let's not talk about it," she said. "Are you mad? I see my wife in the arms of my best friend, and you are wait, and you say we shouldn't talk about it?" He giggled. "Look, Onajite, tell me everything I need to know now," he said in a loud voice. She kept silent. This angered him, and he brought out a gun and pointed at her. "Baby, don't do it," she said. She cried, sorry. Don't baby me. Speak or I'll do it," he shouted. Ruby," she stuttered. "What about Ruby?" he asked, looking straight into her eyes. And she was finding it hard to talk. She didn't even know when she mentioned that name. "Speak now or I'll blow off your head," he screamed. "Ruby is his child," she cried. "Whose child?" he asked. Kunle's, he said. "No, it's a lie. She's mine." Oh, he cried as the gun fell off from his hand. He took a long breath and tried to comport himself. What was it Kunle said you should not get rid of?" he asked strongly. She couldn't speak. She stood there shivering. Do I have to die not knowing the truth? "You owe me that," he said, and was moved to cry again. "Please forgive me," she begged. He looked at her, indicating he was waiting for her reply. "I am pregnant." She burst into a loud cry. "What have I done to you to deserve this?" "Kunle, why?" he cried. Suddenly he went quiet and fainted. His wife shouted and carried him up from the wheelchair. She called on Kunle to come down immediately. Kunle looked at his friend lying on the bed, helpless, unconscious. He could not help the tears flowing from his eyes as his memories flashed back of their childhood days. He remembered their teenage and university years. They were the Siamese twins. They were like Siamese twins. How could he have allowed himself to betray the person he loved the most? He wondered. It all began when Jide had taken a study leave to go for his master's degree in London. Kunle was always there with the family, sometimes with his wife, but most of the times alone. The twins even saw a father figure in him. He would play with them and discipline them when necessary. When the family would run out of cash, he would be the one to meet up their financial needs. Just 4 months after her husband's absence, Onajide could not stand not having her sexual desires met. She had never been used to staying like that. There had been times when she picked up a quarrel with Jide because he could not go all night. Each day Kunle visited, she would persuade him to stay late before he leaves. On this day, the twins fell seriously ill and needed urgent medical attention. Jide took them to the clinic. At the clinic, she pleaded with him to come over and spend the night with them. She said she was scared and would need his presence. After all, his wife had traveled to Port Harcourt with his kids for her younger sister's wedding. Because he had no bad intention, he agreed to stop by on the way from work. The twins were asleep when he arrived. He checked on them told and told her they would be okay. She served him dinner at the dining room. As he was eating, she brought up a discussion on a woman saying staying without her husband for so long. I believe that if a woman really loves her husband, she will wait for him, he said innocently. Can a man wait for his wife? She asked. It depends, he said. It depends on what? She asked. I mean, it depends on the man, he said. You mean you men always feel you can do what you want, but the woman has no right, has no choice. Don't forget, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. She shrugged. You men are filled with so much ego and self-righteousness. That is how you guys condemned Winnie Mandela. Would Madiba have stayed without sex for 27 years because Winnie was in jail? Maybe he would have waited. You never can tell. Maybe you say he probably would have produced 27 children before she would have been out of prison. She said, whatever, it is the man who marries the woman, and so you must put that thinking into consideration. She laughed sarcastically. Have you ever heard that Richard weds Rita? It is always Rita weds Richard. So who weds who? Throughout the discussion, Kunle couldn't wonder why she was serious with such talk. They moved to the sitting room because Kunle wanted to listen to the AIT network news on that hour. She served him a bottle of beer. He accepted it because he didn't want to offend her, and it's been months since he had a taste of it. He seldom took alcohol, and when he does, even a bottle makes him drowsy, and she was aware of it. She had a bottle for herself too. She left the room before the news was over. Kunle also left later because of the feelings he was having. He found his way to the guest room. 2 hours later, she went to his room wearing only the night gown. She lay by his side, but he took no more because he was deep asleep. He was on his boxer pants. Next page.
Let's move to the next page.
Oh, it's you. He said, too bad. Kunle spent the rest of the days with her. They would make every night. He comes back, and before he leaves for home, she became pregnant, and he got rid of him twice.
Can we say?
2 weeks before Jide's return to Nigeria, she took him again, but this time Kunle objected. He said that if she does it again, she could not lose her womb. So when Jide came back, she cried for sex as if she had been starved of 8 or 10 years. For the next 1 week, she would not let Jide step out of the door. And 1 month after she told him she was pregnant, he was excited that he named the baby Ruby, the precious stone, even before she was born. For several years, Kunle had made attempts to end the unholy relationship, but Jide would threaten to make a confession to her husband. The blackmail was what had kept the relationship until now. Jide calls Ruby Kunle's daughter because of his affection for her. He buys lots of gifts and gets concerned when she is sick. If only he knew it was real. Kunle was aware of his HIV matter. Sorry, status. She had told him the result of the test during her antenatal. He was the one who referred her to the clinic. For reasons best known to him, he didn't want Jide to put to birth in his clinic. He had also told her of Jide's status in one of their romantic moments. She had pretended to Jide all the while that he wasn't aware of his status. Kunle never discussed his own HIV status with his wife. He knew he was cheating on her, and that her
He knew
secret.
she was cheating on him.
Okay, he knew he was cheating on him, and that her secret love had died of AIDS. But he was handicapped to do anything about it. She had at her disposal a secret known only to them and Jude that could cost him not only his medical license but could send him to jail. That is if he doesn't lose his life. She was using it to blackmail him to be submissive.
To submission.
Into submission. They had attended a party with Jude and his wife where they had gotten drunk. He had just gotten home when he received a call that one of his patients, the wife of the dreaded politician, was in labor. Instead of calling another doctor, he opted to deliver the baby under the influence of alcohol. She was too weak and could not push the baby out. A surgery was needed and he could have called for an assistant, but he didn't. He performed the surgery and made several mistakes that led to the death of the woman and her child. He covered up the cause of the death. The politician, who is a modern Muslim, took it as an act of Allah and didn't bother to request for an autopsy. Besides, he had to bury his wife that day. Kule was distraught and cried the whole night. Not even a comforting words from his wife or Jide could make him stop crying. For 5 years, Kule refused to enter a theatre. He employed an experienced surgeon to handle such cases. His wife had always threatened to go to the politician and the medical council to report him if he makes any move to divorce her because of her infidelity.
Clap for Uncle Mario. Clap for Mr. Mario. Very much. I see that you can enjoy the reading. I've seen some people do. Can you stand? Stretch yourself. Stretch.
People living with HIV that we should not discriminate them so that they will not feel disturbed and that should not lead to their time death.
Yes, another person. Yes, what do you think?
I learned that we should not blackmail somebody.
Yes.
I learned that we should not betray or blackmail somebody.
Okay, not betray black.
I learned that we should not keep secrets from our partner or our lovers.
Okay.
I learned that we should not stigmatize people living with HIV.
Very good. Yes.
I learned that police educate.
Yes.
I learned that HIV, a person that has HIV can also live long.
Very good. Okay. Yes.
I learned that people who have HIV should not be
What's this?